I don't know. Is that your name?
No, my name is Bella Balls, sweetheart. Bella Balls.
Yeah.
I don't believe that's your real name.
Better balls bust, Augusta. Yeah. November 12th, City Council Chambers. 16 Coney Street. Drag on. True slams. Slipped on that dress, made ponytails tight, Bella Ball storming in. Ready for the fight. Main Human Rights Act, Chapter 5, Section 4572. Pronouns locked down, dead name, that's a felony view. Council chamber crackling, suits shifting their seats. I strut to the podium, call me Bella, make it sweet. They tripped on tongue, sir, what's your real deal? Misgender mayhem, dead name reveal. But the law bites back, equality main on speed dial. Trans shield, unbreakable, your slip-ups a try. Culture jam hitting your sanctimonious shore. Bella Balls dropping bombs, watch the woke floor war. Bella Balls bust Augusta Hills, high balls low. Busting their balls, stealing the show. From the Coney Street desk to the morning news flow. Main Human Rights, watch the bigots implode. We jam the machine, flip the farce with a smirk. Right wing, renegade and drag, let the truth lurk. Bella Balls, most of us the victory strut, no glove. Culture clash queen, give me that rough. They grilled us hard, underway protest there. Two sisters and me, stripping down the nightmare. Title locks twist, Trump CEO in the mix. State says trans play, fair game a rig fix. Women's space is sacred, I roared from the stage, but your rules are riddled. Rage on the page, security hovered, pulses in their ears, but Bella command, quail the fear. Section 46, 3 gender ID supreme, preferred name reigns, dead name bad dream. We crashed the council, mirrored their wrong game, just as iron fist, now feeling the flame. Bella Balls, bust Augusta Hills, high balls low, busting their balls, stealing the show. From the Coney Street desk to the morning news flow. Main Human Rights, watch the bigots implode. We jam the machine, flip the farce with a smirk. Right wing, renegade and drag, let the truth lurk. Bella Balls, bust Augusta, victory strut, no bluff. Culture clash queen, give me that rub. They figure we crack, but we seized the night. Misgender flubs, now they're losing the fight. From equality main to the council's cold hall. Name it, own it, laws are thrall. No more whisper, no more bowed head, nah. Bella Balls surging, serving them hot. Right wing blaze in a bold second frock. Augusta's grip, busted clock, tick, shock, rock. Bella Balls, bust Augusta Hills, high balls low. Busting their balls, stealing the show. From the Coney Street desk to the morning news flow. Main Human Rights, watch the bigots in. Right wing, renegade and drag, let the truth. No bluff, culture clash queen, give me that rub. Bella Balls, bustin' balls. Coney Street, we own it all. Bella Balls, bustin' balls. Coney Street, we own it all. Yeah, culture jam eternal.
Good morning. My name is Michael, and I'm broadcasting from my garage located in St. Michael's Parish in the Pine Tree State's most powerful and divided city, Augusta, the political center of Maine. Every day I begin by imploring the assistance of God's Archangel of War, St. Michael. Please pray with me if you can. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. St. Michael, the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our defense against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, thrust into hell Satan and the other evil spirits who prowl about the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. All right. Appreciate you joining me this early morning on Thursday, the 20th of November. A little chilly here in Maine in the 20s. As I was preparing the show this morning, praying and thinking, meditating, watching the wood fire burn behind the glass of the wood stove. I find that so settling just to sit and observe wood burning, the flames. I never tire of it, ever. I find it so inspirational just to sit there and watch it. It brings much peace to my soul. God, in his nature that he created, what an artist, what beauty, what goodness, what truth can be discovered through religion and morality. And that's what we talk about every day on the show. We talk about religion, morality, philosophy, theology, current events, politics. So I came to the computer and I checked my direct messages this morning, and I had received a post from Truthslinger, which is what we're going to talk about this morning, because he has provided a very helpful bit of firsthand journalism from his hideout in the woods of central Maine. Because he's so skilled with the internet, the computer, and especially X, the platform once known as Twitter. And so I decided upon seeing that just about I don't know why that did that. I don't know, my screen just kind of just started spinning. So I saw his post, and I thought this is what must be talked about on this morning's live stream, is what Tim has revealed about the details of a recent meeting in Augusta, Maine, by the school board. But before, I did invite Tim on. I don't know if he's up or if he wants to join me this morning, but if he does, I'll see him in the backstage here, and I'll be certain to bring him in. Let me pause here and just offer my deep appreciation for you watching, and for those of you who email me or comment on my social media, or who reach out to touch me in my thoughts, my narrative through the internet and the telephone and email. I appreciate each and every one of you, especially those who I disagree with. Keep your comments coming. Just be respectful of time. I'll be respectful of yours. Be respectful of mine. And I'd love to hear your honest thoughts and opinions. So as I was thinking about today and politics and Tim's journalism that we're going to get to here in a minute, so be sure to stay with me. You're going to learn a lot this morning about a lot of things. So I thought of, after reading Tim's post, I thought of Sean McBriarty, and I went to Grok and I asked a question, and I want to put that up here now. and talk a bit about Sean, because Tim is reminding me in his creative work online a little too much about Sean. And when I say a little too much, it's because, well, we'll get to it here in a moment. So this is, I asked this, tell me about the Maine social conservative activist who killed himself a year or so ago. And I was surprised to learn some facts about his career as a public figure, making it all the way onto the national stage in more than one interview, both on legacy media and with sort of online exclusive content, influencer podcaster like Tucker Carlson. He was on Tucker's show. But so Sean is a Mainer, and I honor his legacy and his memory here. Sean was a prominent social conservative activist from Hamden, Maine. He was known for his aggressive campaigns against progressive policies in public schools. He gained national attention in conservative circles for challenging transgender inclusive bathroom policies. Critical race theory, another one, right? LGBT, blah, 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 themed book and lessons, which he accused of indoctrinating, which they are, students. McBriarty, who styled himself as America's most dangerous dad, that's good branding, became a fixture in right-wing media, appearing on shows like Carlson, Ingraham, Fox and Friends. His activism often involved public confrontations, lawsuits, and social media amplification, positioning him as a vocal defender of parental rights and traditional values. I was surprised to learn that he didn't get his start until 2021, after the year from, literally the year from hell, the year that spun up hell on earth, and we're still living into that hell. We haven't turned the corner and started to move back in the direction of heaven yet, but I would argue we're still falling into hell, and we've been that way since 2020 in a big way. So McBriarty's rise began around 2021 when he started attending school board meetings, and he got into some legal battles, and he was politically engaged at the 2022 Maine Republican Party convention. He provided leadership. He was a father and a husband, lived in central Maine, and used his family-oriented image to frame his activism as protecting children from radical. It's funny that Grok puts the radical in quotes. Doesn't need to be quoted. You don't need scare quotes on radical when you're talking about these hellish ideas. But this is the most the most tragic part of this main political and religious story, is that he killed himself, apparently. You'll have to forgive me for not trusting anything the government concludes anymore, but so I don't know. Suicide? Was he murdered? Who knows? I wish I could trust the government, but why would I? I wish I could trust the Kennebec Journal, but or the Bangor Daily News, or the Portland Press Herald, or WGME, or News Center of Shame, or what. I wish I could trust them, but I don't. I don't trust any of them. So anyway, died by suicide on June 3rd, 2024. Think about that. The guy was jetted to the top of the media ecosystem and was dead within 2 years, 3 years at the most, at the age of 53. Wow. Left behind a wife, left behind his family. And then X offers this. His story reflects broader tensions in U.S. culture wars over education, where activists like him have mobilized against perceived liberal overreach in schools. His legacy remains polarizing, hailed as a free speech warrior by conservatives, but criticized by opponents for disruptive tactics, such as inviting controversial figures to meetings or using inflammatory language in front of students. Now, one of my listeners told me that he once did what Bella Balls, Tim Bodnar, did recently in Augusta, like a week or two ago. He cross-dressed. He wore a dress and came to make the point that needs to be made, that reveals the hypocrisy of the ideas of, quote, of progressives. Now that's progressive, that deserves scare quotes, progressives. What are they progressing towards? They're not the word progressive implies that you're moving upward towards something positive. We all know that it's the opposite. If you're taking the label progressive, you are literally creating hell on earth in a civilizational, social, familial, moral sense. You literally are passing policies, creating laws that are designed to build hell on earth. That's what you're not progressing toward anything. And Sean, I'm told by insiders, pretty much destroyed his economic base, the economic base that supported his family. And if indeed he did commit suicide, it may have been over despair related to money. And he just wasn't able to turn his brand of activism into cash, the amount of cash that he needed to pay the bills. And so the pressures grew, the economic pressures grew. And it may be that he killed himself because he couldn't pay the bills. He killed himself over economics. And that's a very real thing, right? Being able to pay the bills, being able to keep food on the table for your wife and your children, being able to use money that you earn to secure your family in the present and in the future. And apparently he, like I say, his brand, what didn't produce the level of donations or support or whatever, however he was going to do that to fund his activism, it didn't reach the point where he could sustain it. And he kind of lived in that gray area of leadership and activism and politics and religion, where the economics just aren't working, and unfortunately may have fallen into despair and taken his own life very, very, very sadly. So Tim Bodnar, the Truth Slinger, is employing very similar tactics to Sean and getting only criticism and attacks from establishment right-leaning figures. He's either being attacked, or let me pause here and pull up his page. Okay. Yeah, here we go. Thanks for your patience with me. So this is his page. So he's earning a little bit of donations, but not much. And he's, as 2025 has proceeded, he's put his name into the mix in the news through the same tactics that Sean McBriarty used: being aggressive, being bold. I would argue, I didn't follow Sean closely, but based on the little bit that I saw at the time he was active, the truth slinger takes this aggression and takes this polemic, if you will, this polemic style in politics to a whole new level, takes it to a whole new level. And in doing so has opened up thinking and conversations in Maine that are long overdue. For example, when Robert's rules of order are weaponized and civility is weaponized by this cult of safety, this feminist, not feminine cult of safety, and they are misused, abused, Robert's rules of order are abused, and this cult of safety definition of civility is employed to shut down free speech, to shut down the creative and bold and aggressive polemic against a public policy or trajectory related to children in our taxpayer-funded public schools. Then, you know, we've reached sort of a point of no return in a political sense, where I don't know how we head off civil war. I don't know how we head off more violence, more bloodletting. I don't know how we head it off if the leaders that we choose to represent us and to organize and prioritize what passes for or exists as education in Maine, right here in Augusta, Maine, our capital city, then what happens next? And I think Tim Bodnar, through his use of the polemic on X and in the real world, is bringing all of this to light so that all of us can examine it. And I'll show you what I mean by bringing up Tim's journalism from last night. So let me just fix this here. Trying something new on my on this StreamYard thing to keep track of my narrative. So appreciate your patience. So this is the first post that. So what happened is, so Tim's out in the woods, and Augusta apparently has to live stream everything, including these behind the scenes discussions they have that apparently don't involve public comment. Maybe they do. I'm not sure. But anyway, Tim watched it and provides a written blow by blow that pretty interesting. So Augusta School Board blows up among tension. I'm assuming this was last night. I'm done for tonight. I just can't believe that this meeting is going like this. April Danboys exclaims to Martha, Miss Muffy with them, who's the leader of the Augusta School Board, after being done getting treated like a child. So this April Danboys, apparently a school board member, maybe a member of the public, I don't know, it expresses that she's done. She's not going to be treated like a child. Now, my understanding of the school board after the election is that it's packed with progressives. It's packed with the woke crowd. So I don't know. Whoa, the cracks are showing in Augusta, Tim writes. More to come. Stay tuned. So he provides a very helpful blow-by-blow here in this post. Augusta School Board strikes repetitive comments as too difficult to enforce. Now they are discussing when you get to throw people out of the meeting again, when to call the cops. Well, when the speaker breaks the rules, of course. Here we go again. Superintendent Tracy is trying to walk a tightrope again. They are basically spending the whole time trying to figure out how to keep me from speaking and attending the meeting. Apparently, all of their problems are because of me and conservative protesters. Now they are talking about people moving around. Now, they're doing this in a live stream that's being picked apart here by Tim Bodnar from the middle of the woods, and also under the threat of a serious threat of a lawsuit from a nationally funded free speech legal group. So the reason that this is happening is because the superintendent, I'm guessing, is not interested in being on the hook to fund their defense should this lawsuit emerge. And it probably is emerging now. And if this is a well-funded lawsuit, this is a case that's begging to be litigated. And Augusta will lose, and Augusta will spend a lot of money defending itself from this lawsuit. So that's the reality in the background and in the foreground, that these woke progressive leaders of Augusta, Maine's school board and school system are contending with. Despite McCormick's, I guess that's the superintendent, begging these people to loosen up on the rules, they are clamping down even more. Board member Susan Parks, Ward 2, demands that the cops do something about Tim Bodnar and Nick Cornpop, Nick Blanchard, and others, their supporters. They want the cops to do something about their free speech. Can't make this stuff up. So McCormick, let me just check. I want Superintendent Tracy. No, Superintendent Tracy McCormick. I don't know about. Maybe Tim will come on and we can get it. Maybe Katie McCormick is a school board member. Board member Susan Parks, Ward 2, demands cops do something. Now they are talking about moving the chairs from behind the podium and bringing in stanchions and barring public performances. Now people must remain seated, no standing allowed. This is getting really stupid. They are debating between distraction versus a disruption. Now they are debating the proper size allowed, like signs and stuff. Oh, prop size allowed, like signs and stuff. Now there is a board member that stormed out of the meeting because people need to sit still, and she wanted to talk about ADD and ADHD, and she got mad at Muffy. Wow. Whoa. Augusta is imploding under the pressure that we have all brought upon that school district. Stacy Fortunato doesn't think props and flags are an appropriate way to talk about education. James Orr, I think he was unseated in this most recent election. He's been the standout board member for a long time, defending free speech. He reminds the board that he fought for free speech rights. He accuses the chairwoman of being biased once again. So I wanted to bring all of that up this morning because it's a helpful blow by blow of the of what happened last night in Augusta. And this school board issue is spinning out of control statewide, and it needs to. I mean, the public schools have been losing their way, losing the plot of what education is, especially for the youngest among us. They've been losing that plot since the very beginning, when they started in the mid to late 19th century, and the model that was employed came from Germany, and it's very left-leaning. It's heavily influenced by left-leaning cultural and political ideas from Europe in the mid-19th century. That's why you have the schools, and then even the churches. It even made its way into the churches. When it comes to education, breaking everybody up into age groups, and then developing a system that forces the youngest among us up until we're age 18 to spend time and to orient their social lives only around people their own age. And it starts at the earliest ages that we break ourselves up into these artificial age groups that deny us society, real society, when we need it most during those formative years, during our earliest years. It denies us on purpose any kind of real human social intercourse, interaction. It's denied us, and so we end up just with people our own age during our earliest years. This is a bad idea that came from the left-leaning side of European educational practice, and we imported it into the United States, like I say, in the mid to late 19th century. That's just one problem. There's so many others that go back to the foundation, that define the foundation of public education in Maine. We need a radical reform of educational methodology, educational philosophy. We need a radical reform. It basically needs to be turned on its head. And it's like we need to start over, because we haven't been educating in the United States for well over a century. And we're now we're experiencing the rotten fruit of this in our culture, in our society, in our civilization, in our families, the high rate of divorce, the inability of the society to meaningfully deal with pornography or any of the sexual habits that work over years and decades in one's lifetime against building the foundation that's necessary for sustaining multi-generational families and marriages that last from the beginning of the marriage until the very end of the marriage, until death. We pretty much, in the last 100 to 150 years here in the United States of America, and more broadly in the West, destroyed a natural philosophical foundation and moral foundation for creating that kind of a society, for building a civilization that can sustain itself through multiple generations over time. We've destroyed the fundamentals, the fundamental pillars, lay in ruins. They don't exist anymore. And how do we fix the problem? Well, a lot of folks in Maine are choosing to absent themselves from these prisons that we call schools. And they're taking up homeschooling, or they're considering whole towns or groups, charter schools that aren't governed by the public side of things, in other words, by the government, but they are instead governed by corporate rules, private corporate rules. These charter schools, not a big fan, because big corporations are now, in many ways, worse than government, more toxic, more distant from what makes us humans, because they, at the bottom line, by definition, what they are is profit-making enterprises. We're giving over our prisons to these profit-making. They exist to make money for distant interests, meaning stockholders. And so our prisons are breaking, our schools are breaking, the ones that we hand over to these profit-making entities, they are breaking. Our publicly controlled schools, our public schools, are totally and absolutely and irrevocably destroyed. They no longer work at all at any level. They don't work. They destroy your children and your grandchildren. These cultures, these environments, these societies that they spend all of their productive hours in, from preschool now until 18 years old in high school, those most important formative years, are designed to make us anti-social, designed to make us into retards that are going to be Twitter-pated by the latest shiny new thing. And the internet has empowered this retardedness of our humanity, of our thinking, of our bodies, our souls, and our spirits. It's totally weaponized now for all of us in the direction of the internet providing a shiny new thing to us with every flick of our finger on our phone as we scroll our phones. And as we, it used to be, I remember a lot of psychology being done when email showed up before we had the scroll. And the psychologists were arguing that the dopamine hit that comes from the opening of an email was starting to break our brains, and that you at least had to punch an email and wait for it to load. Right? But now it's the scroll. We scroll and we hit that post that's the flashy new thing, the shiny new thing, and we get that dopamine hit, and then we scroll to the next one, the next one, the next one. That's the brilliance of TikTok, because they created a smooth scrolling short video format that has really damaged the attention span and the humanity of our youngsters. And we have got to wake up, right? We adults, especially us boomers, those of us who have lived long enough to see our families destroyed, to experience the multiple divorces, to give in to the workplace ethics that taught us that the only way you stay employed is if you agree with diversity, equity, inclusion. The only way you stay employed is if you really, it's to the point of celebrating these minority definitions. If you in order to stay employed, you have to celebrate victimhood on the part of every person that wants to wear that victim identity is the person that you have to respect and honor. And of course, most people still have common sense, and they're still getting paid, and what they're doing is avoidance. They're avoiding the problem. And this is increasingly the case, that these so-called minorities, these victims, are being pushed back into the closet where they never should have been released from. They're being pushed by common sense and by humanity and by reality at the moment back into the closet. That's what's happening. And that's why you're seeing this unhinged narrative that is so passionate and emotional and divisive that in more and more school boards reaching the point where the school boards can't do what they're what we expect them to do, which is govern the schools for the purpose of efficiency and accountability and all that. They can't, but nor should they do those things, because they can't do those things because they've got the ethics wrong. They've got the morality wrong that exists. The layer above Robert's Rules of Order has broken. It's totally broken. And Tim helped illustrate that by showing up in Lincoln. He was announced. There was a lot of supporters there. He was treated as a celebrity by the locals. They felt like a man was showing up from away who could help them resist what Robert's Rules of Order was being used to defend. And the penultimate moment of his polemic, Tim's polemic, went viral when a good old boy boomer wearing a suit and tie got up to confront him because he was being rude, right? He was being being a polemicist, or to use Richard Coffrin's category, he was doing the jester's dance in front of the King of America, which is the school board, which is governed by Robert's Rules of Order. He was doing the jester's dance in front of the King, and this boomer in a suit, I'm told was conservative, now resigned, gets up and assaults Tim in public with all the cameras running. He assaults him, physically assaults him. And so we got one good guy, we got another good guy, and they're coming into violent physical confrontation. And who's responsible for this? We all are. Maine is responsible for this. Our failure to understand that religion and ethics and morality is a layer above what we can see, feel, hear, and touch, and that we dare not ignore it, because if we do ignore it, we risk the collapse of all that we hold dear. We risk the collapse of society if we ignore that. Call it what you want to call it. If we ignore that God, that transcendent layer, that the idea of God, the idea of religion, that it's a layer, ethics, philosophy, theology, it is above everything. It's above science. It's above what we can see, feel, hear, and touch. And if we get that wrong in our politics and in the formation of our villages and our towns and our cities over time, over long periods of time, if we get that wrong, then everything collapses. And God is giving us an opportunity to start moving toward a fix, which means we're going to start to pivot, not all of a sudden, not with some kind of dramatic and bold and big tent revival kind of a thing, that where everything changes overnight. I mean, I'm not against that. I'm not against people waking up all of a sudden and mending their ways and repenting and building toward heaven as opposed to building toward hell. I'm not opposed to that at all. But it appears unlikely at this point in Maine and in America and perhaps in the West that that particular religious tactic maybe isn't even possible now. Maybe isn't even possible. And getting out of this is going to be a slow grind toward using habits of virtue, developing habits of virtue, virtuous habits, through the practice of virtue over time. And this is an idea that Aquinas articulated most popularly in the West. in the 1200s, I think it was, which is that virtue or righteousness is not an instant thing. It doesn't come as the result of a decision in a moment. We develop a righteous life. We develop a virtue in our existence through habits that we pursue, that we teach ourselves over time. And that is, I think, the most realistic path out of this crisis that we find ourselves is to slow down, think more deeply, think more broadly, read more books, bring back a love for literature in the English language, bring back a love for other languages, a respect for other languages and other cultures, bring all of that kind of thing back, which under the broad definition of liberalism still exists and existed very powerfully when I was being raised, when I was growing up, pre-internet. This respect for a broad swath of human art, literature, politics, culture, food, music. This broad, this appreciation for that, even maybe especially if it differs deeply and from our own experience and from what we're most aware of. That's the direction we have to begin going in, slowly, deliberately. I mean, this whole idea that, and this is how the bad guys on both sides are controlling us, is they just keep feeding us this super dramatic. I mean, everybody's getting bored to tears with these super movies, right? These with these epic battle movies. We're bored with it. And the numbers are showing it. The audience sizes are starting to show it. We're not tuning into it like we used to. The big blockbuster tentpole movies. So this is positive. This is a positive that this is happening. I would argue humanity is waking up slowly to the real threats that we face. And of course, one of those real threats, one of the most toxic threats, powerful and dangerous threats, is the internet. What's coming at us through our phones and through our computers and through the internet. We need to think very deeply about that. So I want to publicly shout out Tim Bodnar for his journalism last night, watching that from afar and then providing the blow-by-blow, which I think signals the very real potential for Augusta to be facing a lawsuit over free speech that they will lose. It'll be expensive. It'll take probably years. And I would predict that in the end, free speech, the Supreme Court, will reaffirm the First Amendment and the right that individual citizens in Maine have to speak freely when it comes to politics and religion, especially because a lot of people don't understand the layer above the First Amendment is this idea that the American citizen has this unique right to speak freely on politics and religion. And we've been working on that experiment since the Constitution was authorized, ratified in early 1780s. And here we are. We're still here. We're still an empire. We're still, in the eyes of many people around the world, a worthy nation, a good nation, a nation that contains many virtues and projects many virtues. We're not all evil. It's not all dark. And I think America has helped the world by bringing the First Amendment idea and the Second Amendment idea and a lot of the principles that were set down in the English language in the national constitution and in the main constitution, and we have helped to push a lot of those principles out into onto the entire planet, and that's to our credit, a lot of it. Now, the part of America that is most dangerous and has proven to be unassailable is a profit making capitalism, which is an exaggerated form of it's not even really the free market. It's capitalism is actually the one wing. The best explanation I ever heard was capitalism is the right wing of the bird, and communism is the left wing ideologically of the bird, and the body of the bird is Jewish ideology. So you have capitalism on one side and you have communism on the other, and they're both unworkable ideologies. Capitalism, of course, took root in the West and developed into this idea that a corporation has the same existence in nature, in reality, as a person, so an individual person. And corporations then developed since the late 19th century into this artificial legal shield against accountability, against responsibility. So it's no longer an individual human owner who capitalizes in order to create a manufacturing plant or an industry or whatever. It's a corporation that is a legal fiction, and then all these laws and policies and attitudes have grown up that treat a corporate entity like it's an owner, a singular owner of capital. And the ills that have followed from that have been projected by our military and by our power, especially since World War II, into the whole planet, onto Earth. And now what we're seeing is pushback against that, that's emerging from within cultures and religions and timeless traditions and practices of peoples all over the world. They're pushing back against capitalism. I don't think they're pushing back so much against the First Amendment or the Second Amendment or a lot of the principles that we no longer talk about and educate ourselves on. I think they're pushing back mostly against this weaponization of profit and of capital, the concentration of capital that's been projected all over the world. I think you're seeing Russia and China, Brazil, South Africa, the developing world really is it really is coming together against this very bad idea in practice, which is capitalism. So that's a good thing. Needs to happen. We need our small shops back. We need to be able to eat food on the go that isn't produced by McDonald's or Burger King or any of these private equity owned food establishments. We need access to good food that hasn't been overly monkeyed with by the big pharma companies, by big science, basically, bought and paid for science. We need access to that. And I think the best way to fix all of this stuff is for more localism to emerge throughout the world, where we exist and we thrive in the first place in real life with local people, with people we can see, feel, hear, and touch, and trade with, and get to know, and disagree with, and politically speaking, and come to consensus over time related to our local geography, related to our home. And it's starting to happen. I don't think it can be stopped, frankly. So as I move to, you can comment, by the way, if you want to. Well, I guess I've had that rolling down below. I want to, as we move toward the top of the hour, a few minutes left. Let's just close with some literature here. Put it up on the screen. This is, we're continuing on through The Ball and the Cross, which was written by G.K. Chesterton and published in the first decade of 20th century, over 100 years ago. And we're on chapter 3, so our protagonists have just been released. The atheist and Evan McKeon, the Catholic Christian, just been released by the magistrate into the wild here, into London, and they're moving on with their agreement to enter into a duel over what's most important in life. Some old curiosities. If you want to read this for yourself, you can get it for free online at archive.org. It's entitled The Ball and the Cross. Some old curiosities. The evening sky, a dome of solid gold, unflaked even by a single sunset cloud, steeped the meanest sights of London in a strange and mellow light. It made a little greasy street off St. Martin's Lane look as if it were paved with gold. It made the pawnbrokers halfway down it shine as if it were really that mountain of piety that the French poetic instinct has named it. It made the mean pseudo-French bookshop next but one to it, a shop packed with dreary indecency, show for a moment a kind of Parisian color. And the shop that stood between the pawn shop and the shop of dreary indecency showed with quite a blaze of old world beauty, for it was, by accident, a shop not unbeautiful in itself. The front window had a glimmer of bronze and blue steel, lit as by a few stars by the sparks of what were alleged to be jewels, for it was in brief a shop of bric-a-brac and old curiosities. A row of half-burnished 17th century swords ran like an ornate railing along the front of the window. Behind was a darker glimmer of old oak and old armor, and higher up hung the most extraordinary-looking South Sea tools or utensils, whether designed for killing enemies or merely for cooking them, no mere white man could possibly conjecture. But the romance of the eye, which really on this rich evening clung about the shop, had its main source in the accident of two doors standing open. The front door that opened on the street and a back door that opened on an odd green square of garden that the sun turned to a square of gold. There is nothing more beautiful than thus to look, as it were, through the archway of a house, as if the open sky were an interior chamber and the sun a secret lamp of the place. I have suggested that the sunset light made everything lovely. To say that it made the keeper of the curiosity shop lovely would be a tribute to it, perhaps too extreme. It would easily have made him beautiful if he had been merely squalid, if he had been a Jew of the Fagin type. But he was a Jew of another and much less admirable type, a Jew with a very well-sounding name. For though there are no hard tests for separating the tares and wheat of any people, one rude but efficient guide is that the nice Jew is called Moses Solomon and the nasty Jew is called Thornton Percy. The keeper of the curiosity shop was of the Thornton Percy branch of the chosen people. He belonged to those lost 10 tribes whose industrious object is to lose themselves. He was a man still young, but already corpulent, with sleek dark hair, heavy handsome clothes, and a full, fat, permanent smile, which looked at the first glance kindly and at the second cowardly. The name over his shop was Henry Gordon, but two Scotchmen who were in his shop that evening could come upon no trace of a Scotch accent. These two Scotchmen in the shop were careful purchasers, but free-handed payers. One of them, who seemed to be the principal and the authority, whom indeed Mr. Henry Gordon fancied he had seen somewhere before, was a small, sturdy fellow with fine gray eyes, a square red tie, and a square red beard that he carried aggressively forward as if he defied anyone to pull it. The other kept so much in the background in comparison that he looked almost ghostly in his gray cloak or plaid, a tall, sallow, silent young man. The two Scotchmen were interested in 17th century swords. They were fastidious about them. They had a whole armory of these weapons brought out and rolled clattering about the counter until they found two of precisely the same length. Presumably, they desired the exact symmetry for some decorative trophy. Even then, they felt the points, poised the swords for balance, and bent them in a circle to see that they sprang straight again, which, for decorative purposes, seems carrying realism rather far. "These will do," said the strange person with the red beard, "and perhaps I had better pay for them at once. And as you are the challenger, Mr. McKeon, perhaps you had better explain the situation." The tall Scotchman in gray took a step forward and spoke in a voice quite clear and bold, and yet somehow lifeless, like a man going through an ancient formality. "The fact is, Mr. Gordon, we have to place our honor in your hands. Words have passed between Mr. Turnbull and myself on a grave and invaluable matter, which can only be atoned for by fighting. Unfortunately, as the police are in some sense pursuing us, we are hurried and must fight now and without seconds. But if you will be so kind as to take us into your little garden and see fair play, we shall feel how." The shopman recovered himself from a stunning surprise and burst out, "Gentlemen, are you drunk? A duel? A duel in my garden? Go home, gentlemen, go home. What did you quarrel about?" "We quarreled," said Evan in the same dead voice, "about religion." The fat shopkeeper rolled about in his chair with enjoyment. "Well, this is a funny game," he said. "So you want to commit murder on behalf of religion? Well, my religion is a little respect for humanity. And, excuse me," cut in Turnbull suddenly and fiercely, pointing towards the pawnbroker's next door. "Don't you own that shop?" "Why, yes," said Gordon. "And don't you own that shop?" repeated the secularist, pointing backward to the pornographic bookseller. "What if I do?" "Why, then," cried Turnbull with grating contempt, "I will leave the religion of humanity confidently in your hands, but I am sorry I troubled you about such a thing as honor. Look here, my man, I do believe in humanity. I do believe in liberty. My father died for it under the swords of the yeomanry. I am going to die for it, if need be, under that sword on your counter. But if there is one sight that makes me doubt it, it is your foul, fat face. It is hard to believe you are not meant to be ruled like a dog or killed like a cockroach. Don't try your slave's philosophy on me. We are going to fight, and we are going to fight in your garden with your swords. Be still. Raise your voice above a whisper, and I run you through the body." Great. I love it. So that's the inestimable G.K. Chesterton writing about how religion is worth fighting for. Imagine that. Good thing to think about today as you enter into your most productive hours. And thanks again so much for joining me. I pray God goes with you until we meet again in the morning at 6 a.m. Bring your coffee. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.